Hey there, thanks for taking the time to check out this video where I'm going to be going over 3 components that we recently used to scale one of our e-commerce store clients. When they came to us, they were doing about 25, 30K a month in revenue, and right now they're just about to hit their first ever 150 to 200K month in about the period of 18 months or so, give or take. And there have been a couple of things that have really worked well for us with them, as well as other clients, larger than that, smaller than that, etc., that we've been able to do to help them scale using paid ads. And for some of you, you might already be running paid ads and you're just looking for extra training and the ability to get better and learn something new. And that's great for you guys. I'm excited to have you here. And for some of you, maybe you've tried ads before or you haven't, but the idea of paid advertising is very scary to you, right? The idea of, some of the budgets that some of these e-commerce store talks about on a daily, weekly, monthly basis are quite hefty, and I completely understand that it can feel like a mouthful to be able to comprehend those. And I'm creating this training for both of these groups of people, right? The ones who are running ads and are looking to get better, but also for the people who are considering it or maybe have tried it in the past and it didn't work, to give you some fresh inspiration and motivation to be able to bring this to life. Because I personally believe that when it comes to a store like this, unless you have an organic following, you already have a really big email list that you're growing in some other way, etc., then paid advertising is really one of the quickest and fastest ways to be able to grow your revenue and grow your profits. And I'm excited to talk about it here today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. And I'm going to be breaking down all of these and going into more detail with each of them. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and for those of you who came from the 5-minute version of this already kind of know a little bit about, is the idea of rapid creative. And with the client that I'm referring to here, one of the things that have worked really well for them is that the owner of the business is actually the UGC creator. So whenever we need a new video, whether that be a talking head style video talking about the new product, maybe we need an unboxing, maybe we need it to be shown in action, we have the ability for them to just reach out to them. They can create the video the next time they have a moment open on their calendar without having to go to the marketplace to hire like a UGC creator or to try and create like a stock video, which is oftentimes really difficult, or things like that. Now, for some of you guys, you want to make sure that you have somebody on your team, whether it's you, whether it's somebody you hire, maybe it's somebody you already know, that can be that in-house person, that can almost be the face of the business. And while it's great to have different people that create content so you can have different angles and different ways of saying the same thing, we found that we've been able to scale businesses very far just using one creator, so you don't really have to get fancy with it at all. And also, one thing that I do want to note here, though, is that you're not required to only run video, right? We just find that with the social media world of Reels and TikToks and all of that flashing animated content, videos are a great way to stand out in the feed and to get somebody's attention, but it's not to say not to test images either. We certainly do that too. And for a lot of our clients, I'm to be really honest with you, that we're at that high level on, we're using Canva for some of their graphics, right? And just coming up with great designs inside of that. Okay, when you do videos, we find that 15 to 30 seconds is really the sweet spot, and you have to have a great opening hook. Because if you imagine your own behavior of going through your feed, you're scrolling quickly and you're probably not in a mode of action taking sometimes. People really scroll when they're laying in bed, or they're watching Netflix, or they're just taking a 5-minute breather while they're at work, or they're in the pickup lane at their kid's school and they just have a quick minute and they're just doing some scrolling, looking at family photos and friends and other ads, etc. Like, what can you say that's going to get them to stop and make them go, I want to hear a little bit more about this. And we're going to talk about social proof in the audience area, but again, you want to make them stop. So what's that thing that's going to make them go, wow? What's make them go pop? It might be that, like, let's say, for example, you're selling pickleball equipment, whether that be like a pickleball bag or a shirt, etc. When they're scrolling through their feed, you're not standing in your living room holding the pickleball paddle, but you're standing out on the court holding it and talking about it there. Because if they love pickleball and they're scrolling through, they're going to see that scenery and they might not even realize that it's an ad. They might just think that it's a piece of content. That's the key right there. Don't make your ads look like ads. Make them look like pieces of content that would be organically placed there that they just so happen to have seen in their feed, okay? That's really important. And you want to make sure you have that emotion and that feeling. So many stores that I see are talking about the features of the product, how this pickleball paddle hits at a higher velocity than the other one, or this dress is made of 110% cotton, right? Or whatever, I'm just making stuff up, you know what I mean? Those aren't industries that I'm per se in. But you want to think about, why do people buy that, right? Do they buy those Ray-Ban sunglasses because they're the highest quality glasses? Or do they buy them because they have the Ray-Ban logo on the side of them that give them a level of status? Do people drive that Mercedes-Benz because it's like more efficient or faster sometimes, but sometimes people just buy that Mercedes-Benz because it's a Mercedes-Benz and it has brands associated with it, right? Status. So you want to understand the emotions and the feelings that people have when they buy your product so that you can make sure that you're tapping into that. It's a great way to sell. Number 4, before we move on, is creative is the most important thing when it comes to paid advertising from my perspective. The creative is more important than the headline of the ad. It's more important than the copy of the ad. It's more important than the targeting. If you can have a great video and a great photo, it almost does the selling for you. And the way that people respond to that gives these advertising platforms like Meta so much quicker data on who's better to respond than if you're running lackluster creative that you just threw together in 5 seconds without having much thought behind. It's going to be hard to scale that no matter how good your media buying is. Good media buying can't really sell bad creative and a bad product, right? But bad media buying, if you have a good product and have good creative, can still sell. Always, always keep that in mind. Number 2 is about audiences. We've all been there where you have a campaign that's running at a pretty good ROAS. ROAS being return on ad spend, how many dollars you're making for every dollar you spend in ads. But you look at the frequency, you're like, I've reached 25,000 people and I have 100,000 impressions, which means I have a 4 frequency, which means that people are already seeing the ad on average 4 times, which means that this is probably going to be harder to scale because there's not a wide enough net of people to reach. So one thing to note about that is that we've been switching a lot over to broader audiences. One word of this is called Advantage Plus, which Facebook is pushing really hard right now, where you can give it like wide casting interests, but you're not putting yourself in the box of that one thing. This happened recently where we have a client that sells products in the Jewish space. And previously for them, we were running ads targeting people who were interested in Israel, interested in Jewish brands, etc., because that's what always worked for us. But that started performing worse. So one of the things that we tried is, you know what, let's just target females between the ages that the product is being used, and let's have no targeting. Let's just go broad, right, in the countries that we're doing. Next thing you know, the cost, the action cost came way down because Facebook now had a wide enough net that they can go and find the people that we're best responding to. And of course, there's a level of quality that needs to occur. That's why you want to focus on optimizing for purchases and nothing else. The next thing you want to note is other countries. So for many e-commerce stores, you might find yourself only targeting the United States, maybe targeting Canada, but you actually have the ability to ship to outside countries, maybe in Europe, maybe in South America, maybe it's Australia. You know, there's other countries out there that you deliver to, but you're just not advertising to because, you know, of course, the United States and Canada has a huge net of people that you can target. But one of the benefits that you get from going outside of the core 2, Canada and US, is that you oftentimes get a favorable CPM. CPM being how much does it cost to reach 1,000 people. So whereas in the US, you might find that you're paying, I'm just gonna give you an example, $15. For the same exact ad in another country, you might find that you're paying $7 or $8. So even if they are less likely to convert, you might actually get the same result because you're getting a favorable ad cost on the front end. And last but not least is social proof. And social proof also kind of falls under this stuff over here with the actual ad itself. But the reason I put it here is because when you have people commenting on an ad, liking it, especially with positive feedback is what you're looking for, we always find that the ads that do the best are the ones that garner the most social proof. So in your ad, sometimes you can strategically talk in a way, show something. I don't want to say be controversial, but let's stir up some conversation. Let's just stir the pot just a little bit to get people to talk about something, right? Because if you can get people to talk in the comments, when people are scrolling by on their feed, if they see that there's a conversation here, they might just stop to read the comments. And if they see that the comments are talking positively about your product and your brand, they might be more likely to buy, right? More so, that's the kind of the best kind of social proof that you can ever get. Number 3, this is a big one for scalability, is the fear of spending. And one word that we could use for this is imposter syndrome a little bit. The feeling of, are my products that great? Do I have what it takes to be able to be a brand that scales to 7-8 figures in revenue? Do I have what it takes? Do I have the operational capacity, right? And of course, there are some operational things you need to make sure you have in place to be able to have that kind of high revenue, right? Of course. But for many of you, it's something that's just inside of your mind and it's not actually real. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The first thing is that the more that you spend, the more data that flows to the pixel, which makes your pixel smarter, which means that it takes Facebook less time to be able to find the right buyers. So if you're running ads and you're getting a couple of sales that have come through, Facebook only has a couple of data points on who's more likely to buy. But let's say you get to a point where you have 1,000 sales coming through in a given month or period of time. Now Facebook has 1,000 different data points that it can use to figure out who the right fit is, and they can find more people that look like that. So for many of you, you're just not feeding the pixel enough sales. So the Facebook has no idea who's buying your stuff or who they are. So they're kind of just like going like this all over the place. Whereas if you can just focus on getting more sales to the pixel, right, which does take diligent time, and that's what requires especially this, but also this, it feeds the pixel more sales that can be used to be smarter. Another thing that I want to talk about, and for those of you who saw my 5-minute version of this, you already know a little bit about this part, but it's the 3 out of 10 method, and I want to talk about it again here. So if we talk about normal traditional college, right, you want to get like a 90% or above to be considered an A, right? I'm successful if I get an A. But in e-commerce world and in business world just in general, that's not the truth. That's why I call it the 3 out of 10 philosophy. Which means that let's say you run 10 different versions of creative, maybe you run a couple of different versions of copy, things like that. 7 of them fail. So 7 out of 10 of them fail, but 3 of them hit that KPI that you're looking for. Your next step is to turn the 7 off, scale the 3. And you can build a mega brand off of 3 out of 10 working, because whereas you might have broke even or maybe even lost a little bit of money in the beginning when you were testing the 10 ads right here, you'll make all of that money back and more when you scale the 3 that actually did work. And another thing that I want to talk about is just daily spending in general. Let's say that you're spending $100 a day at a 3 times ROAS, and for many of you, you will be in the profit at a 3x ROAS. Per month, you're going to make about $9,000 in revenue. And I sometimes see stores that are spending $100 a day in advertising, but want to have the ability to hit $50K a month in revenue, and they're wondering why they're not there. I'll tell you why you're not there. Because the math ain't mathin', right? You want to make sure that once you find a campaign that works, you develop the mindset, the guts, the risk tolerance, the calculated risk that it takes to be able to increase the spend slowly but gradually. And there's a couple ways to do that. The first one is just considered to be vertical scaling, which means that you just spend more money and you just widen out the audience as long as you can maintain that. Another way to scale is horizontally, which means that you're adding in different verticals, right? So maybe different markets that can utilize your products, different creative angles, etc. For many of you, the biggest problem that you have is that you're not scaling vertically. That's the biggest thing. So let's say you look at the last 7 days of your ad campaign, you're at a 3.2 ROAS. That $100 needs to go to 120. If you can maintain your ROAS, you take that to 150, you maintain your ROAS, you update that to 180, and of course you can get, just drop my pen, you can get fancy with it, right? You can add in things like retargeting audiences, you can expand, of course, different angles, but this is really important to making sure that, if you can go from $100 a day to $200 a day and maintain that 3x ROAS, now you're at $18,000 a month in revenue, and you're on your way to that scalable business. So I hope this was helpful for you, that you had a chance to check out these 3 components here. If you're interested in working with a team that can either train you on these things, and I don't mean a group coaching program or a course or anything like that, but if you're looking for people who can get their hands into your ad account and train you and consult you on how you can put some of these things into place, and even things beyond this, go ahead and schedule a call below. And for some of you, you might just be thinking, I'd just love to have a team that could do this for me, and I'd love to be able to tap into something like that. Also, go ahead and schedule a call below, because we work with a select number of stores at a given period on managing their paid ads, scaling them, working with you on all of these things and many more, as well as other services that our boutique agency offers. So thanks for spending this time with me. Hopefully you got some value out of this. If you need anything, feel free to message us back, reach out. We love the ability to continue the conversation with you and potentially even talk on a one-on-one Zoom where we can talk about your business, how we might be able to support you. So have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you potentially on the flip side.